To this week 4. This is the last week of the first part of the unit 4. And in this presentation, you will find at least 3 slides that contains the same information that I included last week, but I will have like a summary. I won't repeat the same things. I will mention some other things that are necessary for you to remember. But I want to focus more in the use of embedded questions and WH questions as noun clauses. All right, so be patient. The 3 next slides are the same of the previous week, but with another information recorded. Okay, so please pay attention to my instructions and my explanation. And then in the 4th one, you will start looking like a review of the embedded questions, all right? Okay, guys, remember the noun clauses are dependent clauses, all right? You need another sentence to be understood. They can function as subject, objects, and complements. Could be noun complements or subject complements or adjective complements, right? So in the case of subjects, they are written at the beginning. Here we have normally some examples with that, what, and the fact that. Look at the first example, that she did not pass the exam is obvious at this point. You can replace and say the fact that she did not. That is less formal and only in the subject position, all right? Not in the object position. Like, for example, look in the green column, you have, he knows that I am a dentist. We cannot say he knows the fact that I am a dentist, all right? So in the object or complements, it's not common to use the fact that, all right? But as complements, now that we are in the green column, we can say that, for example, he knows that I am a dentist is because you are expressing that I am a dentist as part of the meaning of knows, right? You are not having an action, but it's just part of the meaning of that. Another one, it's the uncertainty is whether he will attend or not. So again, you are not receiving, or the clause is not receiving the action, but is part of the what is mean, what the uncertainty is, right? That's why they are complements. But in the case of the pink one, we have that they can function or work as objects. He had miscalculated how long the trip would take. It is like the object of the verb. So the action, right, is being passed to the clause, entire to the clause. You need it, yes, but you are not having like the explanation of what the subject means. It's just receiving the action, all right? That's why they are objects. Okay, remember guys, the fact that is less formal than that. Okay, so you can have them different, can be embedded questions, can be whatever, or the ever words, or that, or WH questions, whatever you are using, or whether or if, the position is different, all right? It's not another type of noun clause. No, it's just the position. They can be any of them, but the position will say if they are noun, subject, as subject, or as complement. Okay, in this one, if you remember, we have more examples with that. He knows that I am a dentist. In that case, is an complement of the subject, you see? He knows, you need it, right? You need not only as object, is not like receiving, but it's part of your subject, it's part of the verb, what it means. She said that her friend's name was Sam. That is object, is receiving the action of the verb. We know that he doesn't eat meat, right, as object. So, and then we have the if or whether. With these two, remember, is to say, to give the options whether or not, if or not, right? The point is that, like, he wants to learn whether there is a party today or not. If you will use it, that or not, at the end, You can use if instead of whether, right? But not together. You cannot say, for example, he wants to learn whether or not there is a party today. Or he wants to learn if or not. That is the incorrect part. If or not. Together cannot be used. And with WH words, the only thing is that your clause will start with a WH according of what you want to say. Please tell me who came to the party. You haven't told me whose car this is. I wonder why Sarah is absent. I can't tell you where she lives, right? You are using the WH question corresponding to the correct part of, or the correct meaning of the WH word. Now here we have the ever words, whatever, whenever, whichever, whoever. Remember that the ever is just like the meaning of any, all right? And the first word that is written together will tell you the purpose, if it's a person, if it's a place, if it's time, if it's a way, if it's a thing, with whichever or wherever. Whichever is more exact. For example, look at the whatever examples. Whatever you do, try your best. But whichever it says, you can drive whichever of the cars you want. You are like more specifying which one, all right? So that's the difference. Be careful with that too. The ever words can be used, as I told you in the first slide, as subject and object or subject complement. So it doesn't matter which one, right? Okay, and with this slide, I want to emphasize or focus on the embedded questions. Remember, you can have a question inside of a sentence or inside of another question, right? Depending on the introduction of the embedded question, right? For example, look how from this question, where does she live? We have this embedded question. I don't know where she lives. All right, I don't know where she lives. If you notice, the position is changed, right? Here we need the auxiliary does because it is a question. So we need auxiliaries to ask, right? In present, for example, where does she live? But if you are changing or if you are introducing with a clause here, it transforms into an embedded question. So you have, I don't know where we are not including does, and we need the s to show the present, right? I don't know where she lives, right? This ends with a period because the introduction is a statement. But if the introduction is a question, for example, can you tell me? That is a question, right? That's why embedded questions can be inside of another one. So can you tell me where she lives? You also respect this statement structure, but you finish with a question mark. Here, instead of a period, you finish with a question mark. I don't know where she lives, statement. Can you tell me where she lives? Even you make the intonation of a question, right? But it's an embedded question with no question structure. Look at this one. What did he say? Past tense shown with did. What happened? When we pass it to embedded question, I couldn't hear what he said. Of course, our verb must be in past, right? Because we are speaking in past tense. This is a statement embedded question. That's why you finish with a period, because you start with a statement. I couldn't hear. But if you say, for example, do you remember what he said? Okay, you are asking someone else in a polite way. Okay, remember that embedded questions make the question a little bit polite. So, do you remember what he said? Then, with that structure, starting with a question, you finish with a question mark. How much will you make? She wants to know how much I'll make. All right? Because it's asking me, so I'll make. Can you explain me how much, or how you explain how much you'll make, for example, inside of another question? And the last one, how old is Salma? She wondered how long Salma is. Of course, when you have the verb be, You are not using an auxiliary for future or for past or for present, but the verb be that normally is used to make the questions, right? You put the is or the are or was or were before the subject. How old is Salma? When you pass it into an embedded question, normally the verb comes at the end. She wondered how old Salma is. Period, because you are introducing it with a statement. Let's introduce it with a question. Do you know how old Salma is? You respect this structure, but you finish with a question mark because you are starting with a question like, do you know, right? Do you know how old Salma is? And you finish with a question word. Please, guys, I need you to practice all of them. You have noun clauses with that, what, the fact that. We have noun clauses with WH questions like, I don't know where you live. He wants to know why he is acting like that, right? Normally they are used in the way of an embedded question too. You also have the yes or no questions with if or whether, right? They want to know if we will go. They want to know whether we are going, for example. Remember that or not, right, is written at the end. And if you are using whether, you can use the or not next to whether. And we also have the ever words. I recommend you to write as much as you can, as many noun clauses as you can. All right, practice. I will write some sentences with that and write them. I will write some of them in an embedded questions like we did here, right? Starting with a sentence or enclosed or included in a sentence or in another question. Practice and prepare your questions for the class. Remember that this week you have to do 2 tests in my English lab. So you can use this presentation to practice.